Hello everyone, welcome to Mr. Hancock's English. This video is about types of research sources and how to use them. So the first thing you need to do is you need to be, for Comp 2, you need to be in the Unit 2, the Poetry Analysis Essay. So going in here, and also y'all notice that if I change this up any semester, and this may be like a short story analysis for Unit 2, I've switched them up there, or maybe it's for Comp 1. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what it is. If you're doing research, this applies, okay? So with that being said, you open up Unit 2, and look, you'll notice right off the bat, you'll see 3 links. The first one is for the poem, Dover Bitch, but the other 2 give you particular links to websites that help you understand what types of sources there are. One is for the OWL, the Purdue OWL. The other one is for Virginia Tech, and I want to click on that one right now. So you can mainly see what you'll see on this website. It shows you the type of source, the information about that's given to you, why you use it, or how to use it, and then it gives you some examples. But I really want to take a moment here to talk about the main ones that you're going to need to deal with, okay? Yes, you have magazines. You want to stay away from magazines. You can read that and see why. But mainly magazines are for popular, easy consumption. So the content is not going to be deep enough for your advancement in your paper. Newspapers, same thing, very good. But I promise you the information you're getting from your newspapers is coming from a different source that you'll want to use. And encyclopedias, that's what we talked about before. They're good for just basic information, factual information. So it's just tertiary. Websites, talk more about that later when we're dealing with evaluating sources. But the main ones I want to talk about today are books, academic journals connected to the database, okay? Because you're going to need to use the library database. And I promise you, for traditional students, go there. For non-traditional students, if you can, go there. All right, you can check on their website all the different times, find time and go there. But if you can't, I'm going to do everything I can with handouts and video to show you how to get the best out of it that we can, okay? So let me say this, books. Books are really good, but they're also very limited. Let me tell you why they're good. A typical book is great because it takes a lot of information. It's hard to get published. So you know the editors and everybody doing it and putting that information out is going to make sure it's good, top of the line information. Very good, very trustworthy, and it takes a lot of work. They're not going to let anybody just publish a book. So you can guarantee it's good. But mainly in this right here, I want to tell you what the limitations are with books. They are too broad. Usually, and when it comes to deep research, they become too broad because books, they're cramming so much in, they're going to just skim the surface of the content and give you a narrative type of approach to it in a way. So it's very broad. Even textbooks do this, okay? They're very broad. Also, it takes a while. It can take like a year to 2 years before that information comes out. And a lot of that information comes from academic journals before it gets to the book. So I'll tell you about that in a minute though. So it could be a little, not outdated, but not necessarily the cutting edge of what's going on in the research field, okay? So that's something you have to think about when you're dealing with books. But once again, books are great. There's no one's going to sit there and say that's just bad because you're using a book for any particular reason. No, books are good, but it depends on your subject, depends on your content and everything. If the book is really going to help you out. For instance, if it's about literature, say you're writing about Shakespeare. All right, theories on Shakespeare may have not changed, and even if they have, one theory doesn't necessarily mean the other one's wrong, okay? So you can get a book that's like, say, 10 years old, or 2 years old, or 50 years old in Shakespeare, and it'd be just as powerful. But let's just say you're dealing with psychology, or you're dealing with something like cardiovascular health, okay? A book may be just outdated. It might be just too broad, but it also might just be too outdated if you get something that's, it took about 3 years to come out, and since then we've had all these major breakthroughs. So you can see the book may not work for you there. You just have to make that decision yourself. Because remember, even though this is a Comp 2 class and we're dealing with literature, it does not mean that we're limited to just literature. You have to take this skills course and apply it to your other courses, okay? Even if they're not literature, all right? So anyway, there's that. Last one I want to mention in this video, and in the website, the Purdue OWL website, we'll talk about this as well. But this is the one called the database. Now, this is what you're going to deal with in the library. These 3 you're going to deal with because they're all connected to the database. So let me start saying it like this. Years ago, if you wanted the academic journal, you had to go find the physical academic journal, okay? And with that being said, let's talk about the academic journal. Let's do that before we get to the database. So we talked about books. Let me start over, I guess. Y'all are getting the effect as if you're in class. We talked about the books, all right? And we're going to talk about databases at the end, but let's talk about the academic journal. Actually, I'm already at 5 minutes and 34 seconds, so I'm going to stop and make a part 2 to this video, talking about the academic journal, okay? So I'll see you in part 2.